Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Cordell Gary. I work with the City of Chicago Department of Procurement Services in the Certification and Compliance Division. And we're going to be talking today about a rather unique program that we have in the certification world. We call it the Professional Declaration of Eligibility. The Professional Declaration of Eligibility program is an innovative way of allowing qualified attorneys and the CPAs to review, verify, and attest that an applicant that for certification in our MBE or WBE programs meet the requirements to become certified with the City of Chicago. Those programs I refer to as MBE and WBE are actually known as the Minority Business Enterprise and the Women's Business Enterprise program. Okay. Basically, the PDE process involves a full review of all documentation by the qualified attorney and/or CPA. The process also involves the individual conducting a site visit to visit the applicant for purposes of interviewing, and also, finally, attestation of qualification by the CPA or an attorney. Firms that are eligible for the certification under this program would be applicants that are seeking to be certified as an MBE or WBE in the areas of non-construction and as a professional services type of operation. Non-supplied or distributors would be considered. This application only pertains to firms that are seeking to be certified for the very first time with the City of Chicago, and as such, renewals of certification or expansions of existing certifications wouldn't be allowed under the program itself. The other qualifications include firms that have been new applicants that have not been denied from the City of Chicago within the past 3 years, or have not applied and withdrawn their application, or has been previously certified and graduated within the last 3 years. The time frame for approval under the program, and this is what's so unique about it, is that once the application has been reviewed and attested by the attorney and or CPA, we will then review the application and try to give a final decision within 10 business days. This is significantly shorter than the normal processing time, which on average could go from 60 to 90 days, so upon the submission of a complete application. Processing steps, what happens next? For the purposes of certification, we only accept online applications and supporting documents as part of the process. Our website for preparing applications would be www.chicago.M as in Michael, W as in William, D as in David, B as in Betty, E as in Edward.com, or that's www.chicago.mwdbe.com. That's a direct link to our online portal whereby you can actually start preparing the online application as well as check our directory. Once the application has been prepared, supporting documents have been submitted and attested by the qualified CPA or attorney, it's then provided to the city, and as I indicated earlier, within 10 days we'll give you a final decision. Once the decision has been issued, the file would be certified and is subject to a full scope audit at some point in time. Firms that are already certified with the City of Chicago or certified through this program must, as a course of regular qualifications, must submit an annual no-change affidavit and comply with all the other programs, regulations with respect to continuing eligibility. So basically, once you're certified through the PDE program or Professional Declaration of Eligibility, those firms are considered to be certified like any other firm, and they're subject to the rules and regulations of the City of Chicago for its MBE program. So we look at basically qualified professional requirements. We're looking at individuals that have been an attorney or a CPA that are licensed in the state of Illinois for at least a 3-year period. We also would expect the individuals to have not been convicted of fraud or found liable of fraud or making false statements. We request that the professional individuals are not affiliated with the company by way of familiar relationships or have an ownership interest in the company that they're representing to be certified. We most certainly require that the attorney and or CPA have an understanding of the regulations governing the MBE program. And in this case, we have regulations that govern non-construction applicants, and we refer you to that for the basis of making the certification decisions. While we pretty much, again, open up the program for all qualified attorneys and or CPAs. The City of Chicago does not endorse any licensed professionals. We do not certify any professionals or attorneys. So in the event that someone will ask us for a referral, we basically will not give one. Okay, so moving forward, the documentation that's required as far as getting us certified, I mentioned the online application. Again, that's available at our website. As part of that process, you'll be going through the application, or the applicant will be going through the application. They'll also be providing supporting documentation. All the documents that are required to be provided in support of the application can be electronically attached by way of PDF. Along with that, those documents would be the attestation form, which would be the Professional Declaration of Eligibility affidavit that can also be attached to the online application. And again, all the required forms that we ask for that are unique to the city will be located on our websites for purposes of downloading. Like, for example, there's an affidavit of certification that each applicant will have to complete and have notarized. They can download that form, complete it, then upload it again. So there'll be documents of that nature that you have access to, and we'll go over those as well in the presentation. Okay, so the other documentation that we will look for basically will be covered in the form of, in the application. In the course of completing the application, we look for contact information regarding the applicant, basically name, address, information like that, the type of certification that they're seeking, either as a minority business enterprise or as a woman business enterprise or both. We ask for ownership information regarding the company and the owners, any information on employees, information regarding the operating facility that they're working out of, financial information such as gross sales information or personal statements of net worth, as well as any licenses that are applicable to the individual operating their business. I'll pause to say here that applicants and businesses are certified in areas of specialization. It's not like you can be certified as a minority just on the basis of being a minority or woman. You're certified based upon your ownership of the business in the area of specialization that you perform. So, for example, I like to use the analogy of Cordell McGarry the plumber. So if I'm getting certified in the plumbing industry, I should have experience related to that. I just can't get certified as Cordell McGarry businessman. So that's basically how it's done. And for that matter, that's why we do ask for experience, like resumes, any associations, the professional associations that you may be, or the applicant may be part of, equipment that the applicant may be involved in using for their business, lease information, things of that nature, which will give us a sense, or give you a sense of determining whether or not the individual is capable of doing the work that it's trying to be certified in. Contract information is also used for that purpose as well. If there's an existing business and they have a contract history of working on projects, that information can be very helpful in determining whether or not a person is capable of working in a particular area of specialization. So we look for information like pending contracts, contracts that may have been completed within the last 2 years. In some cases where you don't have contracts, you may have purchase orders or invoices that might again attest to the company's ability to perform in a particular area. Okay, so now the documentation that we also provide for you, which is you can download, we call them attachments 1, 2, and 3. Basically, the attachment 1 is the individual statement of ownership form. This form will need to be completed by each owner of the company, and it will basically request information that will also be used to supplement it, like proof of citizenship or proof of legal residence in the country. It may ask for a personal statement of net worth form, which we do provide that as attachment 2. And then we also provide the IRS form 4506T, which is basically a request for transcript of tax return. These are basic forms that you would download as part of the application. You will complete them in their entirety and upload the information back to the website itself. Once you've done all of that information and you've done the review, and in accordance with the regulations that pertain to non-construction firms, you feel that they should be certified, you're going to make a recommendation. You're going to submit the information to our office. We'll go over it within 10 days. And, of course, being totally positive about this, we're going to probably go along with your decision. And then they're certified. So I mentioned earlier about we do an audit. Okay. So, basically within the scope of time, let's say, for example, for the sake of example, within a year, let's say we'll do a full audit of the certification in the firm. It's our goal to look at 100% of the files that have been submitted to just verify that they meet the criteria. It's for certification. So, and we don't anticipate anything other than that. So we're going to do that in the event that we find that a file has been recommended for approval and they shouldn't have been for one reason or another. Let's say the firm maybe exceeds the size standard for qualification as a small business. That will result in the firm being decertified. Only eligible businesses can be considered to be certified, and again, according to the regulations, as you no doubt will read when you go through the regulations, you'll determine what the criteria and scope is. Okay. So in the event that there are issues in the course of the application, errors that are made, we will pretty much talk about them, and I guess this is the area of penalties, which I kind of get a little leery about. I mean, no one's going to make errors, but in the event that errors are made, we look at them from the standpoint of technical errors that are maybe not intentional in most cases. In the event that, let's say there's an error. Let's say, for example, in the course of doing your review, let's just say you fail to make sure that the applicant has signed off on tax returns. One of the requirements in the program is that the applicant submits 3 years of tax returns, signed tax returns for the company, as well as signed tax returns on the individual basis. The purpose of signing the tax return is to authenticate the document. So let's say in the course of reviewing the information that's been given to you, you accept a document like a tax return that hasn't been signed, done unintentional. I mean, it's a mistake. It happens. That could be an example of a non-intentional error. That may result in, let's say you get 3 strikes. That may result in the first strike being provided notice that an error occurred. Second strike would be perhaps additional training may be necessary. If it occurs again, then it could be symptomatic of a problem, and you could very well lose eligibility to participate in the program itself. Intentional errors, and I know no one here is ever going to make an error that's intentional, but let's just say, I'll give you an example of one. I have a cousin who's trying to get certified, and I shouldn't be involved with the cousin because it's a familiar relationship, right? But I do it anyway. Turns out that the cousin perhaps should not have been eligible for certification. It comes out, and that's a direct violation, right? You could lose your eligibility for doing future work under the program itself. The next category could be substantive errors, not intentional or intentional. These errors technically affect the outcome of certification. Okay, and they could have a consequence. Give you an example going back to the tax return, and this may not be a substantive error, but I would consider it to be one. Let's say, for example, I've got my 3 years of tax returns. One of the reasons why you collect tax returns on a company is that you're trying to evaluate the size of the company based on the industry that they may work in. For the non-construction MBE program, the size standard is relatively high, and basically what I mean by that is based upon the average gross sales of a company over 3 years. Currently, the size standard for firms that are applying for certification in this area is kind of high. It's like if your average gross sales should not exceed $37 million. If it exceeds $37 million over a 3-year period, you're not considered to be a small business, and you're not eligible for the program. Okay, so here's an example of a substantive error. Could perhaps be one where you have a construction company, a minority construction company, minority non-construction company, professional services, that they're great. They're well known and they're very successful. Let's say they may do passenger transport, and they're very successful. The sales over a 3-year period could very well exceed $38 million, and you decide to certify them. Well, that's a substantive error because basically, according to the regulations, they're not eligible for certification. So that would be perhaps an example of one like that. And if it's not intentional, you get basically 2 strikes. We're going to pretty much sit down with you and perhaps work out an agreement, to compliance integrity agreement to probably, to work on moving forward to make sure that the work is done within the guidelines. A second strike, well, it could result in you being barred from the program. An intentional substantive error could be one where, again, using the examples that I had, you knew about it and you did it. Well, and I think that kind of speaks for itself. You could lose your eligibility in either case. Okay. So, professional record, additional penalties. Out of all of that, depending on the scope of the magnitude of the error, it could be referred to the Attorney General's office Inspector General's office for further investigation. Disciplines could also go to your state licensing board for discipline. And the matter could be referred to our corporation counsel for prosecution, depending on the severity of the matter itself. Any questions so far? Okay. This pretty much kind of summarizes the program itself. I don't want you to get alarmed. It's actually a great program, and if we work within the guidelines, it'll be great for everybody. But anyway, if you have questions regarding anytime during the certification process, feel free to give us a call. Our number is 312-744-4900. You can ask for option 1. That'll put you in touch with the certification division. We have certification officers available to answer any questions you might have about the process. If you want to just bounce a thought with regard to a question on the regulations, we're there to help you. We're there to help you if you have trouble actually navigating the application, so we're there to give you a hand, so feel free to give us a call in that regard. Yes.
So you're saying that these accountants, CPAs, or lawyers will be reviewing the application, the required documentation, and submitting it to you, and as an approval, as long as all the documents are in order, are you going to read it? I find, because I am working with some small companies, I do get a lot of phone calls about potential certification, and after conversing with probably 70% of the calls that I receive, they are not certifiable, and they don't want to listen because they, number one, usually do not have expertise or experience in the area in which they want to be certified, but they've been told that through this program, they will get certified and make a lot of money. Now, these folks can put together whole packages, and if whoever is reviewing them is not familiar enough with the little nuances, then submit their whole package to you. Is staff going to review this, or just this possible audit, spot audit every so often?
Okay. Our goal is to review 100% of all of the applications that come through the program, ultimately. With respect to the question of determination of certification, whether or not a firm is certifiable or eligible for certification, one of the tenets of this program is that we rely upon your professional expertise as an attorney, as a CPA, based on your familiarity with program regulations, and particularly the program regulations for our MBE program, to have an understanding of what's necessary for certification. So you're reviewing information, much as you indicated earlier, when you've talked to firms and you've indicated that some are not certifiable. Well, you're making a judgment based upon, a judgment, if you will, based upon the information that you've been presented, as to whether or not this firm is eligible for certification. And that's what the declaration or attestation is all about. You're reviewing the information and you're making a recommendation or as to this firm is eligible for certification. We, based upon your professional expertise and our presumed knowledge of your understanding of the regulations, we're going to give you the benefit of the doubt in many cases and consider that we do the review. Our cursory review will be to basically make sure that the form is there, and it will be spot checked to make sure that basically what we're looking at makes sense, okay, from a standpoint of certification eligibility. A more thorough review where we actually look at crossing T's and dotting I's will occur during the audit. But we're not just looking to see if you have all the forms there and you're good to go. No, we will be taking a look during that 10-day period to determine whether or not it meets the basic standards for certification. I hope that answers your question.
And if I can add to that, so the reason, one of the reasons that the
Question, kind of piggyback, well, it didn't really piggyback, but I think you brought up a good point that I'd like to also bring to the forefront and kind of ask, because I have also been assisting small businesses in getting certified as a CPA firm. And one question I was going to ask is, in the presentation you mentioned about part of the documentation that has to be presented is copies of invoices or previous contracts that the small business owner has engaged in to show that they are able to conduct the type of work that they're trying to get certified in. There has been some situations where we've had new business startups immediately trying to go after the certification now that they got their business up and running. And so in that case, I know it's a process, but I don't know if I was to still do an application for a startup where the startup business owner may not have had a contract yet, but they have a resume that shows that maybe they worked in a corporate environment for another company as an employee for years and have experience and now are going out on their own as a startup. I want to just make sure there's no fine line where it seems like it's a really fine line that you can teeter-totter over, where you are making a suggestion to say that someone should be eligible for getting certified in that line of work, even though they have not had proof from the standpoint of contract, getting a contract yet, and things like that. Like, what do you do in that situation as far as for the startups?
Okay. Startups are eligible for certification. Let's just say that, to get that out of the way. So that means that basically you could open up your doors today, get an assumed name certificate, for example, and open up your doors for business. We certify based upon areas of specialization, and some of the things that we look for are contracts, maybe experience that you may have had that could demonstrate your ability to do the work. In the absence of contracts or that invoices that show that you performed in the area, we rely on other ways of trying to ascertain your expertise. A resume, educational background is going to be critical in this particular system because there's nothing else to rely on. All right? Just like there's no financial information to rely on to ascertain whether or not there's been any performance. Likewise, if a person did have financial information, let's say they lost money, would that be an issue? Technically, it shouldn't. So we're going to look at basically what the applicant is telling us. And when I do seminars like this or workshops like this for the general audience, I always emphasize the point of the need to tell the story. It's so important, particularly if you're a startup, because you don't have the benefit of a history to share with me other than what you've done so far today. So information in the resume is going to be important. Again, Cordell McGarry, the plumber, just opened up my doors. Have not done any work yet, but maybe I've gotten educational. I can prove I went to school and learned this in a trade school. I have a certificate that says I have that. And so I have something that tests my ability to be able to perform the work. Now, the quality of it is another story. And I'm not here to measure quality, but I'm here to measure basically whether or not you're capable of performing the service. And I think that's important. So there's other things you would want to rely on.
Okay. And then lastly, just for the site visit, it was listed as one of the things that we would be responsible to do, but I wasn't sure as to when that would fit into the scheme of things as far as the process. Is that something like when we are putting together the application, and then that we are in the affidavit that we are submitting along with the application, it would be saying that we have performed the site visit?
Okay. The timing of the site visit is, I think it varies depending on the person. As a rule of thumb, I tend to do site visits toward the end of my review of documentation because now I've gone through the application, documentation. I may have specific questions I might want to ask during the site visit. So I tend to do mine toward the end of the review. I know of other officers who will do it maybe in the beginning or somewhere in between. I think it's a matter of basically a comfort level that you're getting, because the purpose of the site visit, mind you, is to not only just meet the person at their place of business, but also to determine whether or not, based on the interview, they actually have the skills and capacity to actually manage and control the business. That's one of the most important things you get out of the interview. You also want to get information regarding, basically, let's say, how the business is structured. I mean, how it's being run, how it was capitalized. These are all questions that you may want to ask, and it may be better to do that after you've reviewed some of the documents. So I would tend to do it maybe toward the end, but that's just how I would do it.
Do you all have formal regulations
I'll,
for that?
well, we do have standard forms, and I will be more than happy to email you a copy. We're in the process of putting them on the website for your access. But in the meantime, you can always reach out to me. My name is Cordell McGarry. My direct email address is my name, Cordell, C-O-R-D-E-L-L, .McGarry, M-C-G-A-R-Y, at cityofchicago.org. Just email me a request, and I'll be more than happy to send you a form you can use. Okay.
I don't know if you answered that or not, but is there a site online where I can familiarize myself with the rules and regs for the program, or can you point me to where that would be in the city ordinance?
Okay, no problem. Our website, okay, is cityofchicago.com, Department of Procurement Services. Once you get to the Department of Procurement Services, you're going to just, there's a, let's see, a prompt called MBE information. You click that prompt on, and among the list of documents will be the construction and non-construction regulations. Be mindful, though, that for the purposes of this program, the only eligible companies will be those that are seeking certification as a non-construction type company.
That's in chapter.
Thank you. So the website suggests that the application be uploaded, and particularly because of electronic stamping. However, I'm also familiar with glitches in technology. So do you still recommend that the application be uploaded as opposed to binders that I know colleagues have previously submitted with their recommendations?
Okay. We're actually, effective January 1st of this year, we went paperless, so we do not take paper. But the online application is not one that you would download. It's actually, it's online interactive. You will complete it online. Now, the only documents that you would attach would be, or upload, would be the documents that would, tax returns, and those forms, you would upload that. But the actual application is actually done online. And you have approximately 90 days to complete the online application, so you can start on it, you can, take a break, come back to it. If you have, I say 90 days, after 90 days, if you have not completed it, it will purge from the system. So you'll want to make sure you get it done within a 90-day period. I've seen cases where people have done that, so most certainly you can print it out, but you could not submit it.
Right, I understand. Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right. So, well, if there aren't any other questions, I'd like to thank you for coming. Also want to let you know that Department of Procurement Services, come visit our website. We're located in the city of Chicago, Department of Procurement Services. We have a lot of information about upcoming workshops that we do. We invite you to subscribe to what we call DPS Alerts. It's an alert system whereby information about what goes on in our department is posted on a regular basis. Information regarding bid opportunities are posted weekly. And also copies of the buying guide, which I see many of you have. We also publish that electronically online as well. So we try to make the information available. And again, if you have any questions regarding the program or any of our programs, because we have 5 programs, please feel free to give us a call at the 744-4900 number. Yes.
So those law firms and accounting firms that are interested will go online to find this professional law for eligibility.
Yes.
Fill out, show that they've got 3 licenses and done it for 3 years and all that stuff. That you folks will process and give them the ability to work with you.
Yes. Oh, I'm sorry. The question pertained to actually being able to go online to get the necessary forms for completion of the, let's say, the attestation form that will be needed to upload with the documents. So yes, all that information is available at our website.